Okay, so I've been making camping and outdoor adventure videos for my YouTube channel for over a year now, and I'm having an absolute blast making these videos. I absolutely love getting out in the open, in the wilderness, and camping is one of my favorite things, and I also love the filming aspect. But another part of this whole YouTube thing that I didn't think I would enjoy is the community. This outdoor and camping community has been awesome. Of course, there are trolls and jerks out there. We all know that, which reminds me of the one time someone said that I reminded them of a older, out of shape, less talented Xander Butnick. It's almost a compliment, am I right? How do you respond to something like that? You just don't respond to it. I'll take it as a compliment. I'm a big fan of Xander. Of course, most of the comments on my channel are positive, and I get a lot of questions on my channel, especially about filmmaking, how I film my videos, specifically sometimes on what gear I use and what gear I bring with me on my trips. So I thought we'd take a look today at some of the gear I bring with me on my camping trips. Now, I should say that this is the gear I use and I'm happy with it. I'm comfortable with it. Sure, I might want to upgrade at some point, but right now I'm really happy with my setup, and this is what I use. It doesn't mean it's the right setup for everybody. It doesn't mean it's the best setup. Far from it, but it works for me, and that's really important. If you're shooting at home, you need to use a camera and the gear that you're comfortable with and that you can afford. You don't want to be buying tons of gear and not know how to use it and have it be overly complicated for you while you're out camping. That's not going to work. I should say that a lot of people use their phones, a GoPro, something simple to film their videos, and their videos look awesome. More importantly, their content is awesome. So, just because you have lots of high-end gear doesn't mean you're going to have better videos. For me, I like to think the most important thing is the story and your personality. And we all know that there are some great videos out there where the camera work is not fantastic. They don't show you a lot of great shots. But the people making the videos have great character and they're very interesting to watch and their story is fantastic. So the gear is important, but the story is the most important thing. So first off, let's talk about the camera I use. My main camera is the Sony a6400. It's a mirrorless camera from Sony. It's also an APS-C camera. I don't want to get into all the details of what makes this camera great and stuff. It's just the camera I use. It's not that expensive. I've been using this camera for my filmmaking and camera gear channel, and I've also used it for my outdoor camping channel. It works for me because it's high quality, it's small, it's light, it's not expensive, so if something does happen to it, it's not the end of the world. But I'm also very happy with it. The quality is pretty good. It gives me 4K footage. It allows me to take photos. So it works on a bunch of different levels. For me, having a camera that you can change the lenses was very important. Right now, I'm shooting on the camera. I'm not showing it to you. It's filming this video right now, and I have one of my favorite lenses. It's a zoom lens. It's a 16 to 55 Sony 2.8 lens. It allows me to get some really good footage. You can zoom in on stuff. You can get a wide shot. It's kind of versatile that way. You can get some really nice background blur, which is called bokeh, and it's something I really like in my videos. You might notice a lot of people do that. The background is really out of focus, and with this lens, it's fast enough that I can do that. So I really love this camera and this lens setup. Another lens that I take with me on most of my trips is the Sigma 16mm lens. This is one of the first lenses I bought, and I'm very, very happy with. It's a prime lens, means you can't zoom, and 16mm is what you get. It's equivalent to around 24 on my camera, which is decent. But the big thing about this lens is that it opens up to f1.4, which just means it lets in a ton of light. So if you're filming at nighttime, this is great. This lens will really allow you to get some good shots at night where you don't have to crank up your ISO and you get some really grainy shots. This is going to let you get some nice shots. Even though my camera isn't full frame and doesn't have a large sensor, this lens itself really helps to get those shots at night. And if you're doing any kind of astrophotography or nighttime time lapses, this thing is awesome. I put this on and I take the videos. It doesn't give you grainy footage because the lens is really fast and allows a lot of light into this lens. It's a little heavy for a canoe camping trip, but I find this, along with my lens that I'm using right now, to work really, really well together. And I normally use the zoom lens that I have on now for most of my trip. And then at nighttime, once it starts to get a little bit dark, I pop this lens on. It gives you some nice sunset shots, some nice water shots, and if you're going to be talking by a campfire, this is a really good lens for that. You really don't have to have a lot of light. You can use the campfire light to light you, and it's great. It's a fast lens and it's not that expensive, so I take this lens along with my zoom lens, and for the most part I'm happy with that setup. So other than my Sony camera, the next camera I use the most is probably the DJI Action 1, which is right here. It's very much similar to a GoPro. It does almost everything that a GoPro does. It has two screens so you can look back while you're videotaping, which is very important. I most recently bought the Action 2, which is very similar to this one. The quality is a little bit better, and this is actually a much smaller camera. It comes with modules, so if you want to just use the camera, you can. If you want to use the module with a screen, you can. I bought the most basic, and I actually bought it when the newest version of the camera came out, which is the Action 3. I may upgrade to the Action 3 in the future, but I got a really good deal on the Action 2, and the quality is somewhat similar, and all the bugs, for the most part, have been worked out in the Action 2, so I'm pretty happy with this. So this one here, the Action 2, I'm going to hook up to the canoe, hook up the very simple stuff. If I just need to put a camera somewhere small, this will work really, really well, especially on the canoe. You can really set up interesting shots. They're waterproof, so you can put them in the water, get some shots of paddling. The fish, although the fish don't like to come near me, they really don't like me. But for the most part, you can still get some really cool shots underwater with these cameras. Another camera that I do take with me sometimes on my camping trips is the DJI Pocket 2. For those that are watching my filmmaking and camera gear channel, you know I love this camera. I've made lots of videos about this camera, using this camera. So for me, it's just a natural fit to bring this camera with me on my camping trips. It's a tiny little gimbal and a tiny little camera. It's very, very small, very light, and it gets you great footage. The quality is not as good as my Sony camera, and I do have a larger gimbal for that camera, but it's not something I want to bring on these camping trips because it's too bulky, it's too big, and if something happens to it, you know what, it's a value that I risk losing because I damage it while out camping. This little guy is affordable. It's small, it's light. You do have to be careful because it's delicate. It's not a sports camera. It's not a GoPro or a action camera. You really need to be careful with it, but it can give you some fantastic results. It's got a nice smooth gimbal. So if you want to get really nice shots and get really creative, you can do that. I do find that I don't always bring it with me because sometimes if it's bad weather, I'm worried about damaging this camera. And you have the other cameras to work with. So sometimes I don't bring it out, and sometimes I really regret that when I get back because there are certain shots where you're like, wow, I really wish I got the gimbal camera out and got some really smooth footage. You can slow things down with this camera. You can do time lapses. You can do motion lapses. You can do a lot of stuff with this camera. One of the most important aspects of a good video is good audio. If you don't have good audio, the video is really going to suffer. Now this mic here is the Rode Video Micro. It's a tiny mic. It's got a little dead cat on it. Very, very simple mic. And this is what I use almost all the time. I do have better microphones that I'll use in the studio or something like that. But when I'm out on a canoe trip, a hiking trip, anything like that where I'm out and I cannot bring any big microphones, and you don't really want to bring a big microphone, this thing is awesome. I mean, it doesn't take a battery. It always works. You plug it into your camera and you're good to go. The fact that it doesn't have a battery is really, really good because you don't have to worry about changing batteries or charging this microphone. You plug it in and it works. It might not be as good as the bigger microphones, but I'm telling you, it's very, very close. And the fact that it's so small, so light, so easy to use, this is one of the best mics, and I'm glad I take this everywhere. I've had other people in the video industry kind of laugh at the microphone that I'm using, but you know what? This is it. I don't care what they say. This is the microphone I love using when I'm out there, and I'll continue to use this. Matter of fact, I have a second one as a backup, just in case this one breaks. Okay, so let's talk about using a drone. I absolutely love using a drone to get some great shots, get really creative, get some really wide angle shots, some landscape shots. I absolutely love it. I don't always use drones, unfortunately, because if you go to an Ontario Provincial Park or a National Park or Gatineau Park, a lot of these parks, you're not allowed to use a drone. It's just part of the rules. You can't use a drone. And that's fine. I want to use the drone there because they're beautiful parks, but the drones are against the rules there, so I don't bring my drone. It's simple. That's it. I just don't bring it. That way I know I don't even want to use it because I don't have it. I can't use it, right? Now, where I do use the drones are other parks or other camping places, especially Crown Land. That's another reason I love Crown Land. Less rules so you can use your drone. And when I'm at a campsite where I can use the drone, I often use the drone. I love the way it makes your video looks. It gives you a very unique creative quality to your videos. For me, one of the greatest things is to being on the canoe and getting some paddling shots of me on the canoe. Now, the drone I use is an older DJI Mini 1 drone. It's not the best drone, but it works for me. It's light. It was somewhat inexpensive. You don't need a special permit for this drone. You just need to use this in a smart way. You cannot use it in areas where you're not allowed to use it, and you can't bother people with this drone. For me, that's not a problem. I like to get away from people, so when I'm on a Crown Land or a site where I can use this, I use it all the time. Another accessory I always suggest somebody takes is a small tripod. This is a little tiny tripod from Manfrotto. It's very simple. You just screw on the camera here, and then you can adjust it. The legs come out. You can do a bunch of different things. The reason I like it is because it's simple. When you're out there, you don't want to overcomplicate things. I have a larger tripod that I keep my camera on, and it works great. The lighter the better in those situations, but the lighter, the more expensive the tripod's going to be. So just get something that works for you. You're just going to have to carry a little bit heavier if you don't want to pay as much. For me, I have something in the middle, and I'm pretty happy. So for the most part, that's the basic gear that I bring. There are times where I bring some more gear, accessories, other things, longer lenses. Depending on the situation, I will bring it. But for the most part, that's my simple setup. I know it might not seem too simple, but for me, it's a good balance between bringing enough gear to get what you need and not too much gear that you're having to carry all this stuff and lug it around and worrying about damaging all this gear. For me, I like to bring exactly what I need and a little bit extra, and that's about it. Now, when it comes to accessories, we got to talk about batteries, battery packs, all these things to make everything work, especially if we're out there on a long trip. But we'll go into that in another video. And then another big question I get in the comments is how to shoot the videos. Meaning, how do you set up and frame your compositions and that kind of stuff. That was a very much of an eye-opener for me when I first started it. I know everyone jokes about how you set up your shot, you walk past it, then you come back. But really, that's exactly what it is a lot of times, and it could be exhausting, especially after a long day, or you're in a canoe and you're not the greatest paddler, which I'm still learning. So that is a lot to work on. So on another video, I'm going to go into all of that. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any question about the gear, please let me know. Please remember though, I don't want you to take away that you need all this fancy gear to make a video. I talked about it earlier. Some of the best outdoor channels and camping channels out there, they just use a phone or a GoPro or something simple. And you know what? Their videos are awesome. The thing that drives them is the story and their personalities. They have a great personality, so who cares what the camera is used for it? It works for them, and that's great. So I hope you take something away from this video about some of the gear that I use, and if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully, you will see me outdoors next time. I have a couple more winter camping trips planned, and then I can't wait for spring and summer to get out there. I really have planned some really nice canoe routes, and I'm very excited. I'm hoping to go to Algonquin Park for the first time this year and do a trip. So I'm very excited. Any questions about the gear or anything else, please let me know. And hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate taking the time to watch my videos. See ya.